Okay, I guess I'll do my video on this nastiness that goes on in the comic book industry, and it's all very sad. Even more so, in recent information on this, in the Tom King attempting to ruin the reputation of artist Jay Lee. Jay Lee, who is just an astounding artist, and I'm just in awe of it. Every time I see it, it's just beautiful work. I wish he could do more interior work too, so you can get more of it. When he was doing the Ozymandias for the Beyond Watchmen series, it's just beautiful to look at. Beyond Watchmen didn't bother me as much as it did other people. In fact, now as it stands, it's probably the best post-Watchmen effort when you consider the other iterations, even Doomsday Clock, which had some interesting things in it, but it just kind of fizzled at the end. And then I'm not even going to bother mentioning the HBO series, which is just awful. So yeah, it stands pretty good, especially Darwin Cook's Minutemen, which really they should have adapted that for HBO. But anyway, so, and then Jay Lee did Superman Batman for a while, and that was just glorious to look at, you know. So the more Jay Lee, the better. So anyway, he did a cover for Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog, and it's of course it's spectacular. It's very good, and it turns out, I didn't know this, but he had done the cover way back when in the 90s for Cyberfrog back then. For Ethan, so it stands to reason. So Ethan, he hired Jay Lee to do a cover, paid him, you know what he deserves. He's a fantastic artist, and he should be paid very well for his work because it's always excellent. And there you go. That's that. You know, he drew a picture of a cybernetic frog. Well, you can't do that in today's world if you're in the Twitterverse cult. And writer Tom King is on his knees before Twitterverse 24/7 apparently. He recently did this stupid thing with his rape pledge. It's a pledge not to rape. Oh, jeez. Man, the stupidity. Tom, if you're not a rapist, you don't need to pledge not to rape. And if you are, I don't think a pledge is going to cure that. You know, that's far severe problem there. But anyway, yeah, he does dumb things like that because he's terrified of the Twitterverse. That's what he is. But he's a former CIA guy. He fought in Iraq and all. Yeah, I know. That's the odd thing about it, isn't it? Yeah, I know his experiences there probably led to he talks openly a lot about his depression. I suffer depression too, but I don't exploit it. But Tom King loves to do so, as if that excuses whatever misfortunes he promulgates here. It doesn't. It's an explanation of your character. It is not an excuse for it. But nevertheless, he went after Jay Lee publicly on Twitter, you know, because he was terrified of what they might say, that he had this Jay Lee alternate cover for his Rorschach series, which, yeah, I had no interest in this whatsoever. I briefly considered giving Tom King another shot for Adam Strange series, and even though I think the plot was done better by Howard Chaykin in Twilight, I'm sure, but I thought, you know, it looks interesting. I might want to give this a shot. Yeah, I got burned by Tom King with Mr. Miracle, which started out looking very brilliant. I thought I was reading a new classic, and then it just devolved into repetitious nonsense, and that's it. It fizzled. It didn't have the material for 12 issues. He barely had material for 4. Which is probably what he should have cut it down to, and probably would be a very well-respected series. But, you know, so after that, and that's just it. That's just on his abilities as a writer and stuff. And I was like, oh man, this guy's overblown. He's overrated, and this isn't, you know, the real deal. Had a similar experience with Scott Snyder, and I just like, yeah. His again, tease, no payoff, and and stupid things like that. So that's all it was. But then again, maybe learning to do better. The plot for the Heroes in Crisis was just so absurd. I had no interest in that. The art looked beautiful, but I just, I'm not spending money on that. So the Rorschach thing, not even going to touch it because, what he just did is it's unforgivable. I mean, this thing about trying to destroy this man's career, which is what this is about, and all that. So he said, oh, he supports Comicsgate, which is a hate group. No, it isn't. It's a consumer advocate group. That's all it is. Consumer complaint, basically. And this idea that it's even a group, because this is this funny thing. I remember Eric Larson saying, Antifa's not really a group. It's a collection of ideals. And no, it isn't. They had their little uniforms and they organized on social media where to be to do their attacks and stuff. And there's funding for it. So no. Here, you know, a hashtag, which is all it was with Comicsgate and people complaining about the industry, which follows this, cancel culture and SJW nonsense, and uses so-called marginalized peoples as shields, and puts them in plots and whatnot for superficial ends, and then demands to be worshipped for it and this sort of thing. And that's, how long is, I was going to say 5 years, but it's probably longer than that of this going on. And well, you can see the results. So he attacks Jay Lee over this. Ethan Van Sciver went after him, said, shameful what you're doing. Yeah, he's right. So then Tom King got a backlash. This is not just Ethan, but a bunch of people saying, this is crap. And here Ethan puts it just right. I'm reading the article on this at Bounding in the Comics. It says, we aren't a hate group. We're opposed to SJWs destroying this business with cancel culture while using marginalized people as shields. Yeah, exactly. You can't win because you're wrong and we're right. And then he gets a little salty. What a dork, Tom. Go fuck yourself with this hate group shit. While you tried to destroy a working artist who has been making people happy for decades, while you've only made Batman a simp. Yeah, Scott Snyder made the Batman who laughs. Tom King made the Batman who cries. Yes, that's his legacy, and probably why he's no longer a writer for Batman. And so anyway, he left a link to go back Jay Lee's cover for Cyberfog Wrecked Planet. So there you go. So that pretty much encapsulates it all. And so Tom King responds, said, hey, I spoke with Jay. He's not on Twitter. Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't be either, Tom. You might get a better perspective on life. Go outdoors once in a while, meet actual people, and not be so deep in the Kool-Aid for Twitterverse. But he's not on Twitter. Didn't know Comicsgate existed, and doesn't support hate of any kind. We're all good. Best possible outcome. Yeah, turns out that's not exactly the story. No. So, Jay Lee is on Instagram, and he did respond to this, and it's not all good. So 2 weeks ago, June and I took Loki, which was his pet dog, to San Diego to see a specialist. He did not survive due to complications from the surgery. This past Friday was supposed to be a day of mourning. We were back in San Diego to pick up his ashes. We were going to take him to the beach and comfort each other by sharing our favorite stories about our little boy. Instead, a part of the internet I avoid like the plague. Yes, see, very wise choice not to be on Twitter, yeah. They came barging in. I had companies I'm working for calling me, friends reaching out to me. I'm seeing hate pouring out of strangers' mouths, accusing me of things I have no knowledge of. Oh, jeez. I'm seeing firsthand how fast lies are spreading, yeah. Let me be clear, I'm not part of any group. We never made it to the beach. We spent the entire 6-hour drive back home on an emotional roller coaster. I'm writing this because I'm angry. These irresponsible tweets are not just harmless. They do not just go away. They have real-world consequences. They take away your job, your life, your memories. June and I were robbed of a special day. So no, we're not all good. Yeah, he's like, it's just a pet. No, and I recently lost a pet too, so I understand the pain of that. And just at the moment, right at the moment this happens, Tom King decides to dump a load of crap on Mr. Lee for what? A drawing of a frog. This is insane. And of course, why did he do this? Because he was terrified of what kind of backlash he would get from Twitterverse over the alternate cover, and he had a big spell. I had nothing to do with that. The company decides it. I was very upset, and all this stuff. And so yeah, tweets on Twitter don't need to matter unless you let them. But in the case of this, when a so-called professional at DC Comics does this, that's the damage. And so that's his response. So of course, Tom King lying that everything's fine. No, it's not. And it's all very sad about he's in this state over the loss of his dog, and then compiled with this unnecessary crap. He was hired to do a job. He's a professional artist. Ethan Van Sciver is a colleague. He paid him. He did the work. It was beautiful. The end. And it's just a story about a frog that an alien gives cybernetic parts to and becomes a superhero fighting bugs from outer space. Yeah. Oh my God. That must be a dog whistle for white supremacy or some such. God, and this cowardly stuff here. But wait a minute, he's CIA guy. Yeah, that's the strange thing, isn't it? Yeah. Twitter's not the universe, Tom King, and you let it be, and you did something like this. So look, the comic industry is can you even call it that anymore? Well, you can, because it's a new form of it is the only success is on the Indiegogo campaigns that the likes of Ethan Van Sciver and so forth have achieved. And the day is coming where if you're an artist or writer and you need work for comics, Ethan might be the one who can provide you with work. And this kind of behavior and whatnot, he's not going to trust any of that. He's already stated he's not going to hire SJWs. And a lot of people say, well, hey, that's like being like them. But, well, the problem is like it's a ticking time bomb that's going to go off on your business, you know? None of this was necessary. It was all born out of the fear of what Twitterverse might do to Tom King. So he immediately runs out here and virtue signals over it. And no evidence whatsoever of that, the Comicsgate is an arm of the Klan or what have you, because it's just not true. And it's sad and pathetic and really terrible, because Jay Lee is just a guy who's very talented, and he deserves the work he gets. And so this kind of damage is like this, and of course the Twitterverse is not going to say, oh yeah, this was a misstep or what have you. No. They're going to keep piling on Jay Lee. So these idiot companies that's the more amazing thing, is that companies respond to this and believe it, and this goes all the way through Hollywood and whatnot. They can keep the pressure on, and for whatever reason they bend the knee to it. Why? I don't know. They never show up. They never buy your products. They don't replace the audience you're pissing off. And to do this to a good artist like Jay Lee, why? His art is beautiful. You see that on the cover. It increases the odds of someone wanting to buy your product. They'll keep this on. And word of advice to DC or Marvel or whoever, ignore them and give Jay Lee some work. But it looks like maybe Jay Lee will have to go to Indiegogo as well, and more power to him if he does. I think he'll do very well like that. He can set up a project, what have you. It's much better to have companies you can just hire out for your talents and whatnot. But well, we just can't have nice things in today's world, can we? No, I guess not. So there we are. It's pretty much what I would have suspected. Yes, Jay Lee is very upset about this, and it's perfectly understandable. And, even worse because of the sad situation he's in. with the loss of his beloved pet. So, this is what Twitterverse does to people. This is what, even when you're not on it, he said, avoid it like the plague. Yeah, he's right. I'm on it, but I don't listen to it. Not really. So, but yeah, I guess if I was in his position, yeah, I'd quit. You know, I wouldn't be on there. So, there you go. It's a sad story, completely unnecessary. These are always unnecessary when it deals with these battles in the comic book industry and Twitterverse and all that. And there you are. So, condolences to Mr. Lee over the loss of his little Loki.